Hello, it is Dr. Jen, and I would like to introduce to you all today Miss Kit Statham. She is with the Rockstar Suicide Prevention Program, and we have had her on before. And today she's going to be covering just a really, really important topic. We're going to be covering the presentation is called "You're Not Alone," but we're just going to be going over just some different aspects of depression and just different ways that you can just be aware to make sure you're not isolating and that you're staying social and you're just really making sure to take care of your mental health and also just kind of being aware of kind of the signs and symptoms and for others around you that might be kind of warning signs that you need to pay attention to, that somebody might be needing support, might be needing help. And I think as we get older, sometimes things like this, it just kind of like slowly starts to creep in. And it's not always like a big dramatic thing that you're going to see or that you're going to feel, or notice that, all of a sudden one day you're happy, you're great, you're fine. And then the next day you're like, yep, okay, cool. I'm depressed. And here we are. Usually it's not that much of like a black and white thing. So really just trying to bring awareness to you guys, for you all to be able to kind of watch for different signs and symptoms and things that you notice that, okay, stuff's kind of starting to creep in. And, when we kind of need to have those conversations about what support looks like and, what do you do? So again, I'm Jen with Aging Advantage. And so let's just kind of go through really quick again, who we are. So we are a non-for-profit organization here in the St. Louis area that supports seniors and disabled adults. And really, like through local grants and donations, we offer these kind of educational programs. And we're able to partner with incredible experts like Kit to be able to help all of you with the effects of post-pandemic situations and even some of the post-tornado situations, et cetera. But helping you guys to understand more about like housing and food insecurity or isolation prevention and things like that. And through those partnerships, like with again the educational people like Kit that we're able to partner with, we can provide these different topics to really help you all again just be more aware and mindful of what's happening for you in your own world and for people around you, but really trying to help you guys promote like better self-care and better resilience, so that you feel more confident and more stable as you're navigating your world, as I always jokingly say, like out there in the wild, and you're running
Yeah.
around, you're trying to do life in your own environment, and being able to help you be more confident in place, like where you are now is key. So anyways, just again, we have Miss Kit with us today, and like I said, she's going to go over "You Are Not Alone" for us, and I will just hand it over to you. So thanks for joining us. So everybody get your coffee, get your tea, whatever you're going to get, and get cozy and take it away, Kit.
All right. Thank you, Jen. Well, welcome. And like Jen said, I am the founder, the executive director of a local non-for-profit for suicide prevention. It's called the Rockstar Program. And our mission is to have conversations about mental health and promote suicide prevention. We have to start somewhere. We have to start the conversation. So when Jen asked if I would do this presentation, it was a no-brainer. Definitely. Let's have this conversation about depression, about the differences between depression, sadness. And one of the statements that I always love to go to when I am presenting, when I am discussing anything, is awareness equals prevention. Education is power. Education is powerful. And so this presentation, like Jen said, is just all about let's have this conversation. I want to throw out as many thoughts, as many statements, as many things for you all to think about, to be mindful of, because life is hard. Life in the wild is difficult. It's hard, it's stressful. And so being able to take moments like this to pull ourselves to the present moment and be able to see signs in order to then help, in order to then support. Chef's kiss. We need this. So you are not alone. This presentation, again, is just all about understanding how depression can develop, how depression can be shown, and how we can help it. So, getting started here, depression is not a normal part of aging. Now, I will say, I do believe that we all go through symptoms of depression. We all go through symptoms of anxiety. Again, life is hard. And understanding that balance of what, where are our limits with when do we need to reach out for help? When when do we know how to help ourselves when we are showing signs of sadness, when we are showing more signs of it's more of a chemical imbalance of depression, and then again understanding the differences. So understanding that as human beings there are going to be struggles, and especially understanding the challenges in the older community and the barriers and how we can help that. So many individuals in the senior citizen community struggle with depression, and a lot of them don't receive help. So how can we be those advocates, and how can we help them through um, the slopes, through the valleys of depression? And especially post pandemic, especially post COVID, it's so it's so gnarly to think that COVID was 6 years ago. And I feel a lot of people when we discuss COVID, it's this like bizarre thought process of like our lives before COVID and then our lives after COVID, and understanding the effects that COVID had on us, and especially um, older adults. There was so much isolation, and it has kind of trickled down. It has still continued. So understanding that, gosh, there's not a timeline for depression. There's not a timeline for grief. There's not a timeline. It's not linear. So understanding that although it was 6 years ago, there is still so much to be aware of. And there are still those effects that affect all of us as humans, and especially the senior citizen community. And so being mindful of that, and then also being accepting of that. Because again, sometimes we can get caught up with, well, that was 6 years ago. We're better now. Like, like we're past that now. Fair, logically, that's fair, but emotionally, no. And y'all, I wish our brain worked like that. I wish we could just tell our brain, hey, we're not in COVID anymore. Hey, we're further along in life. Our brain just doesn't work like that. There are still going to be effects. There are still going to be issues. There are still going to be struggles. And so accepting that and being able to validate that, especially within people who also think like that, who also think I should be over this. I should. I don't want to feel like this. Because think about that. Have you experienced symptoms of depression? Have you experienced difficult times and isolating? And I know personally, I hate it. Who loves depression? No one. But I hate it because I feel out of control. I feel like I cannot control myself. I cannot control my emotions. And that's exactly how our brain reacts to depression when we have a chemical imbalance. Is we are out of control. We don't know what to do. We feel like we should. We should be better. We should be fine. What do I have to be depressed about? So a lot of these negative thoughts then stem from a chemical imbalance. And again, being able to focus on the senior citizen community and what can we look for? How can we help? So understanding the difference between sadness and depression. And I'm a visual person, so I like to visualize either kind of like a scale, kind of like a 0 to 10 sort of thing, and or up and down, whatever you want to do. But sadness is more of that one, whereas depression is a 10. It's more extreme. Again, it's not linear, but being able to understand the difference between it's a tough day versus there's something chemically going on within our body and we can't, you can try all the coping skills, you can try all the support, you can tap into all the resources and still feel depressed and still feel off. And so understanding that there is a difference between sadness and situational things going on, as well as there is a medical necessity to of depression. And so it's the severity of the symptoms, but also the timeline of the symptoms, how long um, someone is feeling sad and depressed. And that can be a huge indicator of when to reach out and when to ask for help and when to tap into help. So let's discuss, and again, be very mindful that the whole world of mental health is very gray. Okay. That we are going to have these conversations. And again, I want to just throw out and plant as many seeds in our brain as we can to really just understand what to look for. But unfortunately, sometimes it does get a little gray. It's a gray area of, okay, well, they were isolating and they were doing this, and it might have been more situational than a chemical imbalance. And so there's always exceptions, but ultimately being able to discuss the signs, the symptoms, what to look for, uh, it's all to help us be the best supports we can for other people and for ourselves. So a lot of the signs, a lot of the symptoms, rule of thumb for me is there's like a 180 in someone's personality. If they were more social and now they're isolating more, if they were always into certain things, if they were going to quilting clubs or they loved reading and they don't read anymore, if they always worked out all their life and now they don't want to put on a pair of tennis shoes and go to the gym. So really tapping into and kind of just being aware of someone's, if they just kind of changed like a 180. Now, I always ask about sleep. I think sleep is can definitely tell us a lot. Are they sleeping more? Are they sleeping less? So those sleep disturbances. Appetite. So in every session I do, I will usually always check in with my clients on sleep and appetite. Again, it can tell us a lot about symptoms. Because with appetite, some people that is they'll eat more, they'll eat less. So again, being aware of it. Isolation is a huge one. Be very mindful of isolation. I've worked with a lot of individuals going through grief and um, even just probably within the past year, and there's someone who comes to my mind where they were always discussing hanging out with friends and traveling with friends and doing this and that, and they love to explore new places, and they lost someone really near and dear to them and they started isolating. They didn't want to go out, they were not communicating, they were not talking or making plans with any of their friends. And the statement that they would say is, I don't feel like it, I don't want to do anything, I'm tired. And that is how grief affects us. That is how depression affects us. It drains us. and we don't want to do anything. And understanding that awareness, understanding how depression affects us, and then knowing how can we help ourselves. I always go to two parts of the brain. We have the emotional side, the feelings, and we have the logic side, knowing what to do and understanding we need the balance between them, because it's so easy just to like shut down logic and just run our lives on emotion. And sometimes it's fine, that's cool, yes. But especially when it comes to depression, if we allow the depression to run our life, it's not going to be healthy. So understanding that, yes, you may feel tired, you may be eating less, you may be not interested in doing anything. Understanding though what you need to do to help yourself, what you need to do to help someone else. So a lot of times it is that challenging conversation of, I know you don't feel like doing it, but I need you out of the house at least once a week. I need you to text your friends back at least once a day. I need you to get out of bed once a day. I need you to brush your teeth. So again, it's also then making even like small goals and small things for individuals that are dealing with depression, helping them do things they may not feel like doing, but are helping them. So understanding the signs and the symptoms of depression, isolation is a huge one, loss of interest, sleep, appetite, mood. A lot of times anger will come out, irritability. So again, things to look for. And y'all, risk factors, we all have them, different age groups, different timelines of life, and especially for senior citizens, there is a lot of barriers. And again, there's a lot of barriers at every stage of life. So for the senior citizen community, being able to think about the barriers and the risk factors, the isolation, it is more difficult to want to leave the house, to want to go somewhere, especially if there are medical issues. If it is difficult to get around, there's also the barriers of the medical issues and driving. I have had several discussions and conversations with clients and friends, family members of not being able to drive. So then you have this barrier of transportation and having to understand the resources, and then you have to wait for someone, a caregiver, resources in the community. I know Oats. I have a family member that works for Oats, and they, you have to wait, and then you're relying on them. So that's a loss of independence. I know I don't like that. I don't like waiting on other people. I like to do things myself. And so then there's this scope of, you have to grieve how your life was, because you used to be independent and be able to drive, and you could do things on your own, and you can make up your mind and do it. And now you're in a transition of life where you may not be able to do it. So there's that grief. And then there is a lot of grief with losing loved ones the older we get. And then comes the chronic pain and illnesses and feeling lonely. And what do you do with that? And how do you process through that? And so there are several risk factors and barriers. And again, understanding is the first step in order to help, in order to support. I think one of the biggest barriers and risk factors is not asking for help. And there's several reasons why at any stage of our life, people don't ask for help, but especially in this community. So there is this stigma, and shame comes up real quickly, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So understanding that and then being able to challenge it, being able to break down the stigma and shame, being able to go, we all need help. That's logic, right? Like we all need help. It is okay to ask for help. We don't know everything as humans. We don't. And so again, emotionally, shame coming up and then stopping us from asking for help, being able to be aware, being able to go to someone and go, hey, it's okay. What do you need? What can we do? Generational beliefs, cultural beliefs are definitely a part of this conversation because it is difficult. And I do hear it a lot of, nope, I just need to pull myself up from the bootstraps and I shouldn't. So then the shoulds come back. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be fine. I've had a great life. I should. So those generational beliefs, especially, yeah, if you have gone through a lot, if you have already been through a lot of trauma, you've been through a lot, you've been through stress, and you can look back on your life and be like, I've survived. Why am I feeling like this? It is very difficult sometimes to really grasp that. And sometimes we ain't gonna grasp it. Sometimes it's our bodies need to process, our brains need to process. There's a lot going on, and we need to ask for the help. We may not logically understand it, but we know it to be true that we need to seek help. And you are not weak. You are strong asking for help. And the fear of being a burden, y'all, I hear it from my mama. She'll she'll say it, well, I just don't want to burden you kids. Mama, come on. Yes, you can. And it's not a burden. Please ask for help. Uh, my mama retired in 2020. She she moved. She found a home at the Lake of the Ozarks. That's where her brothers are also there, and and she moved there in like 2021. So I think a couple of years ago, she actually told my sister and I, she was like, the winter months are really hard because like she has some people that live near her that stay throughout the year that are retired, just like her. Um, but she talked about just feeling lonely. I mean, she moved from a small town that we grew up in, where she had a community, she had resources, like she had roots. And then she retired, which is already a life transition. And then she moved away. And so it's this like she had to kind of start life and putting down roots all over again. And my mom discussed it with my sister and I, going, I'm retired. I don't have to stay at my house there during the winter months when I am feeling more lonely. I'm going to come down. I'm going to stay with you, kid. I'm going to stay with your sister too. And I know my sister and I have talked about how we're so happy that mom actually like asked for that help, right? Like she actually said, I'm lonely and I need to do something about it. My mom has also started tapping into the community, and we'll kind of go over that a little bit later in some slides of like where the resources are. But it took time. It took time for my mom to kind of put down these roots, find her community, but being able to kind of get through that fear of being a burden. Because she said that, she's like, I don't want to burden you kids. You have your own lives. You're not a burden. Both of us have extra rooms for a reason. Come down. So you are not a burden. And also the concept of, well, it's just age or it's just this life transition. Again, finding the balance of that. Because yeah, as we get older, we're going to be more tired and we might be more forgetful and we might have aches and pains and we might, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to depression. So being able to understand that mental health is this gray area and being able to understand that there are many pieces to it. So some of the barriers, some of the risk factors to be mindful of, and understanding that there is hope, there is healing, there are resources. I always tell people that the goal of life, the goal of treatment, the goal of helping our mental health is not to just, I want to say the word to not just overcome it, right? But we do want to overcome it, sure, sure. Not, it's never going to go away, right? The goal is that every time we may feel these symptoms, so I visualize like walking up a path of life, right? And we're going to trip, we're going to fall, we're going to feel things, we're going to feel stress, we're going to feel depressed. The goal is to learn how to not fall down as hard and to get back up quicker, to go through the waves of life quicker. And that is where this hope and this healing um, comes in, of understanding and radically accepting what life is throwing at us. We don't have to like it, but being able to accept that, okay, there's a lot going on. There's stress. I'm depressed. There's depression going on. How do I get through it? Let's not cover it up because it's still going to be there. How do we get through it? And next time, if life throws us other waves, if we are like falling down again, how do we again not fall down as hard? How do we surf that wave quicker? So, hope, healing, what is out there? Okay, there are amazing counselors out there. I know a barrier to that is definitely finding the right person. And shoot, we can have a whole other presentation on how to find the right therapist, and you have to have insurance and how to pay for it and where do you find them, and then you have to call them, and that's timely. But knowing that counselors are out there and you can tap in and ask people as well, hey, do you have a recommendation? There are support groups as well, and sometimes yes, it is a little bit of a hassle, and there is some time to figure out where and when and how to get there. Knowing they're out there though is important. And like I mentioned with my mama, the social connections and the daily routines. There's a lot of power and benefit to having a routine and being able to be flexible, yes. But think about how you feel when there is more of a routine in your life. For me, what the word that comes up and how I feel is control. I feel more in control of my life. Now, there's definitely a balance to that, right? Because then we can go to the extreme and then it's more anxiety. And we have to do it this way. And if we don't do it this way, then we're kind of all over the place. But having a balance of feeling like you have structure, feeling like you have a routine. And y'all go to the basics. It can be, I get up in the morning and I brush my teeth. Oh, okay, continue to do that. But also kind of figuring out this routine allows us to plant those seeds of hope because we know what to expect. We know we can do it. And the social connections, again, being able to find things in your community that you love, that you enjoy. My mama started going to the library and doing a book club. And so now she talks about, oh my gosh, my sister and I, we love this. She talks about going on we call them like little daties. She goes on like little play dates with her friends. But she'll talk about, oh, I went over to, my friends from the book club. We met for dinner. They invited me to this bingo night. They did this, they did that. So it's been really enjoyable. It's been really like my heart is so happy to hear my mama talk about the community and tapping into these like social connections in her community. And like there's a bingo at this like bar down the road and it's like a quarter, like it's just like this, just meet up, play a little bingo for like little prizes and to be able to come home. So knowing how to connect to the community, and there's barriers to that, I know, but just knowing that there are things out there, medication options. And again, there's barriers to this because shoot, I know even talking with my grandma about all the medications she's on, uh, she gets overwhelmed at times, as well as she asks questions, she advocates for herself, but she also knows the benefits of medications. Finding the right doctor, finding the right treatment team, because medications are out there to help. And depression is a chemical imbalance. So allowing a medication to help balance you, and when you are more balanced chemically, you can control what you do better. I went to a workshop one time, and the psychiatrist explained medication like chef's kiss to me, and that's what I always go back to. Of medication is not magic. There's no magical pill just to take away our depression or our symptoms. Medication allows us to handle it better, to control our symptoms better. It still takes our effort as well. Medication is there to help. And the bummer part of medication is there's not one pill for everything. So, and for one person, what may help someone um, over here may not help you over there. So just be mindful. Finding the right treatment team, the right doctors, the right medication can be very beneficial. Physical activity and nutrition, yes, yes, yes. I think we all know this to be true, and we can roll our eyes because, of course, but moving our bodies, being able to put good food into our bodies, it's important. Yes, there's barriers to that, and I will always throw out start small. So I work with a lot of clients where they know they need to move their bodies, they know they need to eat better, and we discuss, okay, what's a small change? So instead of taking something away, add it, add protein. That's what we discuss a lot of times. So there's barriers to it, but we got to discuss what can help us and be mindful of that. All right.